Can we really be unstoppable? No. Well, yeah, sort of. A while back, I did a video about what we all want. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, wow, that's quite a bold statement, Damon. Like, how can you possibly be able to say what everyone wants? Well, I can say that. And if you want to know how and why, you can check that video out. I will link it to this video, put it in the description so you can check the description and find that video. This video is about what stops everyone. So what stops everyone from getting what it is that you want. Now, before I get into this, of course, as always, if you find yourself liking this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you do like this video, chances are you will like a lot of my videos. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you'll be notified when I put new videos out, which tends to be every Wednesday and every Saturday. And since this is the first video of the new year, 2021, I want to also offer you some free live training that we'll be doing next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So also check the description right here down below. You will see there is a link for a live training, live 3-part, 3-day training. We'll be doing it in the morning and in the afternoon so that people all over the world can take advantage of this. And like I said, it is live. I will be teaching it along with my partner, Nate, and we will be going through this with you, answering questions every step of the way. So it's not like I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff at you and expect you to absorb it all and then go home. No, we are going to do this with you and answer your questions in real time. So make sure you sign up for that. Like I said, you will find the link in the description below, and make sure you get in now because we are likely to fill up. There's something in NLP we call the well-formed outcome. Now, I didn't create it, though I've been teaching it for years. And why do I teach it? And why do I use it with my clients? It's because it's extremely powerful. Most people will set a goal and not really expand on it, not really think too much about it, not think about what are those deeper drives behind wanting this goal, and what are some possible obstacles that could come into my way, what is really within my control, what is not within my control. And so the well-formed outcome is an amazing tool to use, and it's so simple, and most people don't use it or they overlook it, or if you learn it in an NLP training, most people won't spend the time to really understand it and really utilize it to create what it is that you want to create. Now, you just probably started a New Year's resolution. Most of you have done that. And so you set a resolution, or you say, I'm going to do this, and this is my New Year's resolution. And then a few weeks, a few months down the line, you drop it. Most people do. Most people never see their resolutions through to the end. And I assure you, if you apply a well-formed outcome to it, you will definitely increase your chances significantly. And what it also will probably happen when you use a well-formed outcome is what you think you wanted will change. And that's a good thing. Like, it's not like, oh, I have to give up on what I want because it's unrealistic. No. A lot of times we go chasing things that we think we want, but we don't actually want. And that's one of the reasons why you don't see it through. Now, one of the things that we ask, one of the questions, and this is so, so powerful, and it's powerful because of its simplicity. And again, most people really will not pay much attention to this question. They will overlook it. It's a very, very powerful question. When you look at what it is that you want, the goal that you're setting, or the resolution, or just in general, whatever it is that you want, ask the question, what stops me? Or what might stop me going through this? Now, a lot of people are afraid to ask that question. And it's obvious why. It's like, well, I don't want to think about all the reasons that I might not be able to see this through. I'm feeling motivated right now. Don't I need to hold on to that motivation? If I start thinking about what might get in my way now, won't I just be sort of creating a self-fulfilling prophecy? Well, I'd say that is possible, but you have to plan ahead. And what are the realistic possibilities that will get in your way? And if you already have strategies for getting around that, you're going to be so much ahead of the game. So with that, when you encounter those obstacles, you know exactly what to do. Now, a lot of times what happens when people ask that question of themselves, or I ask that question of themselves, they start to think about things that they have no control over. They start to think about the things like that they can blame, like other people, or my boss might give me a bunch of work, and if that happens, then I can't do this other thing that I want to do. I can't work on my new business, or I can't exercise more and lose that weight that I've been wanting to drop. So a lot of times people will go into blame. And then the other thing that people will do is they will start talking about the things that they don't really want to face. And that's why we ask this question, because you want to face this now. One of the big ones that people will often mention is fear of success. Now, I really, really hate that phrase. And the reason for it is this idea of fear of success. So that if you're afraid to succeed because if you get what you want, or that you have some fear of getting what it is that you want, it's such a contradictory thing. So fear of success, well, you can't possibly win with that one because you fear getting through it. If you overcome your fear of success, well, then you're succeeding, but that's what you're afraid of. What I'm getting at here is that it's this eternal loop that you can't really get beyond. It's also not really a true thing. It's not real. Nobody really fears success. And I use this analogy, if you've heard it already, forgive me that I haven't come up with something more creative since, but it's such a easy way to explain what I'm talking about. If you were hungry and I put a plate of food in front of you, not just any plate of food, but your favorite dish, and you were starving, would you sit there and go, gee, I don't know if I have the motivation to eat this? I'm not sure if I really want this because I don't know, I have this problem with fear of success, so maybe that's going to get in my way here. That would be crazy. You would not even think about motivation. You would not even think about fear of success. You would just simply eat the food. That's how we want to approach our goals. And when you use a well-formed outcome, that's one way that you clear the path. You clear all this outside noise. You clear all this junk away so that you're just like, yeah, I know that I want this. You don't think about motivation. You just do it. Drop this idea of fear of success. Fear of success is a wonderful idea for people in a position like mine. I don't consider myself a guru, but people who are selling motivation, selling personal development and all that sort of thing, because it's a problem you can't solve because it's really not a problem. It's not a real thing. Now, when I mention that, I often get a lot of feedback. Well, I would say a lot of criticism. And a lot of people really wanting to fight me on that and say, no, I know it. I know I have a fear of success. And don't tell me I don't. And it's like, no, you have a fear of change, possibly. We do fear change because there's unknowns that come with change. And that's another thing that's covered in a well-formed outcome. We go into that, like what possibilities might happen. We call this ecology. When you get what you want, how might that shift relationships around you? How might that shift your positioning in the sort of external world, not within your feelings, because we're getting what we want, we're feeling fulfilled. But yes, that could affect relationships outside of you. And if you don't explore that before you go after your goal, then yes, that unknown can be a little bit scary. And through a fear of change, you might not follow through with what it is that you want, but you do not fear success. Don't let anyone ever tell you that. It will just wrap your mind in a bind and have you running in circles and wasting energy over a problem that isn't a real problem. So what is really getting in your way of getting what you want? What is really stopping you from succeeding? The truth is that no matter what it is that you want, the true thing that is actually getting in your way is self-importance. And I welcome anyone to challenge me on this because I might be wrong about this, but I've really searched this. I've really beat this concept up, this theory up as much as I possibly can. And over I keep coming back to the same thing. That the one thing that has always gotten in my way, and when I work with clients, same thing, is self-importance. Now, you might be saying, no, Damon, I'm not in that category. I'm not succeeding because I'm feeling low self-worth. I'm feeling low pride. I'm feeling low self-esteem. I have a lot of self-doubt. I am anything but arrogant. What do you mean self-importance? Now, I'll get to that in a moment. Let's address, though, arrogance. So arrogance, yes, absolutely. Arrogance as a form of self-importance gets in people's way a lot. It's kind of a double-edged sword. There's a certain amount of arrogance where you think you're slightly better than what you are, so that you challenge yourself more. You go for things that are slightly outside of your comfort zone or even way outside of your comfort zone. A little bit of self-importance, a little bit of arrogance in that regard can actually be very, very useful to you. But if we're talking about this arrogance of like, fake it till you make it, I already have it. I already have this thing that I want. That does not work. It doesn't really work in the sense that if you truly believe you already have what you want, you already are who you want to be, that kind of fake it till you make it sort of disables you from doing anything about it. I had a person say, well, I use fake it till you make it to become an expert guitar player. I hardly knew anything about guitar, and then I imagined being an amazing guitar player, and then a few years later, here I was. And I said, okay, that's great. What you did was you future-paced yourself into becoming that greater guitar player, but at a certain point, in order to practice, you had to admit to yourself, I'm not that. So the fake it till you make it's nice as a future pace, as imagining me already having it. That works. But if you stay in that fantasy, then you don't ever actually practice. If I really believe I'm an expert guitar player, that I don't go and practice the basics on my guitar, why would I need to? I'm an expert guitar player. But if I don't know the basics, I have to start there. Fake it till you make it. Another better way to do it is to say, okay, future pacing, thinking about already having it. How would I go about doing that? That works really well. But if you truly have faked it, then you don't actually do the things you need to do to become good at something. So that doesn't work. Arrogance, this idea, I'm better than what I think I am, then you don't try, then you don't challenge yourself. And then you become very much afraid of feedback, not just the feedback of other people who are telling you, hey, you are not as smart as you think you are. And they're probably right whenever, if you're being arrogant. But also the feedback of, well, feedback is also failure or success. I try something and it either works or it doesn't work. That's called feedback as well. It doesn't have to be spoken by someone else, but that is feedback. So if I try something and it doesn't work, but I'm so arrogant and I think, well, no, it had to work because I'm me, because I'm so great, well, then you just deluded yourself into believing something worked that didn't, or you start blaming other people. And so that's another one that we can get into, where people blame other people because it couldn't possibly be my fault. It couldn't have possibly been anything that I did. Okay, all these forms of arrogance, yes, will absolutely get in your way. But what about the other kind of self-importance? Low self-worth is a form of self-importance. Self-doubt, extreme self-doubt, is a form of self-importance. Now, it's actually a good thing to doubt. That is your wisdom speaking up. Hey, I want to go do something that might actually cause me harm, and I have doubts about it. Well, those doubts are good. I want to listen to those. Those doubts are telling me you need to consider some other things here. But self-doubt, this idea of I doubt myself. What do you doubt yourself? Do you doubt that you exist? Do you doubt, deserving or undeserving? That's another one. If you're caught in this idea of like I deserve or I don't deserve, that's also a form of self-importance. Now, I have to keep saying these things to really clear this up for people. If you sign a contract with someone, I do this amount of work and you pay me for that, yes, you deserve that money. That's not what I'm talking about. That's an agreement you made with someone. But people feel like in the world, just in general, I'm not getting what I deserve. And they bear down on that. I'm not getting what I deserve. And that's a form of arrogance. It's a form of self-importance. You just limited yourself. You're not probably going to get what you want because you think there's something outside of you that's holding back, that like someone owes you money and you're not getting it, even though there is no agreement and that person is completely imaginary. Or this idea, I don't deserve the things that I want in life. That is a form of self-importance. So the way I'm using this idea of self-importance is not to mean only arrogance. It's also when you think that you are below something, or it's when you're caught up in this idea of self. And self is a concept. This idea, self-concept, it's a concept. Self-concept. You want to have a healthy self-concept, and a healthy self-concept is not self-important. It's just there. It's kind of a concept. Now, I could go into this a lot, which is what I'm going to do on the training, the free training we're doing next week, to really go into, well, what is self-concept and how do you use it to get what you want, to live a fulfilling life. But it's this idea of placing a higher importance on self that is getting in your way. Self-importance. Now, there are many ways that we can be self-important, both on one end of the spectrum or the other. There's one more that I want to mention. I think it's really important because I think it stops a lot of people from actually going out and trying and doing and going after what it is that they want. There's a lot of people who fantasize a lot. And these are also the people who like to talk about their fantasies a lot. Hey, I got this idea. I remember when I lived in Los Angeles, this was rampant. People would talk about their film ideas, their screenplay ideas, all the things that they wanted to do, but then never did anything. They never sat down to write it. They never tried to shoot it. And it's not just in LA, of course, it's everywhere. People fall in love with their fantasies. They maybe have come up with a good idea, but a good idea is nothing. It's meaningless unless it's put into action. It's just this, thing that's floating around in the ether that is not actualized. So it has no value until you start doing something with it. But time and time again, I've met so many people who are so in love with their fantasies, and I'm guilty of this. I've done this before too. They spend so much time working on their fantasies that when it comes time to actually do something about it, they are afraid of killing the fantasy. And that's kind of what happens when you finally take action on something. The process of actualizing a fantasy, in a sense, starts with killing the fantasy. Because when the rubber meets the road, when you get down to it, when you start working on that thing, it's never as pretty as it seemed in your mind. What was occurring in your mind is a fantastic perfection. Everything looks perfect. Everything looks wonderful. And then when you start to work on it, it's like, oh, not everything is so wonderful. Oh, this is difficult. It's really challenging. And so people don't even want to do that because they're so in love with their fantasies, they don't want to ruin it. It makes me think about when people think about winning the lottery. When we think about winning the lottery, we think this is perfection. This is all of our problems are gone, right? If I had $300 million, there would be no problems. I'd have no problems. But that's not true at all. I think it's 50% of the people who win the lottery within 10 years are not just broke. They don't just lose all the money. They're even poorer than when they first won the lottery, before they won the lottery. So what happens, I think, a lot of times is people win the lottery. It's been a fantasy of theirs for a long time. And because they are lost in the fantasy and they won't accept that the world is still the world, even with a lot of extra money. There are still problems, not the same problems. You don't have financial problems anymore, but there are still problems. It's not perfect. And people will reject that, or they don't adjust to it. They don't flex to it. They don't accept it. And so they don't do anything about it. They're still living in this fantasy world of like, oh, well, I have no problems now. There's nothing to solve because I've won the lottery. And so because they can't adjust to that new world, then they lose their money. They will find a way to lose that money. If you're in love with your fantasies, it's time to destroy them. And what I mean by destroy them, it's time to create them. And of course, it's never going to be the same as what you fantasize in your mind. There's always going to be imperfections. And I'm very guilty of this one. I used to succeed at something finally. And because it did not look like the fantasy in my head, because there were some problems, nothing is perfect. There's always going to be those imperfections. My mind would gravitate to the imperfections because I was trying to get rid of them. It's like, well, I got to get rid of these imperfections so that it can become more like the way that I fantasize about things. Well, what happens when you put all of your attention on what's wrong with something? You tend to create more of what's wrong instead of expanding on what's right. And so I would often achieve something and then find a way to get rid of it by focusing on the imperfections of it because it didn't match up to the fantasy that I had. So that also is a form of self-importance. And so I can go endlessly deep on this, and I will probably create more videos on this. But I would love for you to comment. I would love for you to ask me questions about this. I would love for you to challenge me on this. And so what I really think gets in the way of everyone's dream, gets in the way of what everyone wants, is self-importance. As I mentioned before, we are doing that free live training. Make sure you take advantage of it. You will find a link in the description below. Make sure you click that link and make sure you sign up, reserve your spot. Make sure you show up on time. Sometimes people come in late and we already are full and they don't get to get in. And so we don't want anybody to miss out on this. And we are doing 2 per day so that we can make sure that everybody gets an opportunity, no matter where you are in the world, to do this training live with us. Also, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button and click the bell so that you'll be notified when I put new videos out. And last but not least, if you can think of a friend or a family member who you think would benefit from this video, make sure you share it with them. Take care.